This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
We feel it dying. Why hesitate? Let's pull the plug and start us over on another page. I can't imagine us going eye for eye. Yeah, I'd be blind so quick, my senses shut this world on fire. Hey, for crying out loud, pull yourself together, don't you stop it trying now. Hey, for crying out loud, I never thought I'd ask, but now all I can do is shout. Hey, what about us? Just another complication, don't you ever stop to think about us. You're in my mind forever.
Rated MALSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, it never has and it never will. Sometimes we're still trying to figure out who the host is. At least it seems that way. Anyways, today's Tuesday, April the 4th of 2023, day 94th of the year, and only 271 days left to go. We are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and hanging out with our friends and colleagues at that other place that we do stuff at. You know, that place.
Radio Big.
Yeah, it's hanging out with our friends at Radio Big, doing the things that they do, you know, all the fun stuff, all the cool stuff, you know, the things that the cool cats are doing over there at Radio Big. Anyways, how are you? How have you been? How are you enjoying your Tuesday? How are you enjoying your week so far? So I can start off by saying some things. And I could say that, you know, the rumors of my death were not true. No, I did not take an extended weekend because of WrestleMania. No, that was not the other thing. I don't know if you know this, but there is some kind of flu bug going around, and I was blessed with it apparently on Saturday night to Sunday morning. So yeah, it took a overhaul of everything that I had planned in my life to do, and that's why I was not here yesterday. But now we're here, and that's the important part. So we'll do all kinds of fun stuff. So let's start talking about all the things that we should have been talking about yesterday and all the stuff that we should be talking about today. So let's start talking immediately about what was trending.
Here is what was trending. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, the trends of the ends of the ends. We'll talk about all that stuff. Even Apple is facing a round of layoffs, but not for the same reasons as everyone else is tightening up the economy. So we'll talk about that. Al will be revealed today in the case against former President Donald Trump, and former Senator Al Franken pulls back the curtain on who was his funniest colleague at the Senate. Don't know why that would be considered important, but there you go. Soon Lee announces the end of her college gymnastics career, and Ron Howard once considered directing porn. Yeah, not a joke. We can probably talk about that. Oh, yeah, because half of the writing staff is gone this week. Just a little FYI. In a live-action version of Moana is in the works at Disney, and Austin Butler has landed his next big role. We can talk a little bit about that if you want to. Should I already start talking about next week? Yeah, I'll tell you this now just to get it out into the open. Next week, I got an in-person thing that I got to do. And I am not 100% sure how we're going to pull this off because one of my flights is during the time of the show. could not work around it because I know how I had to get there. So we'll talk about that in regards to what's happening. Yeah, the next couple of weeks, travel-wise, will be pretty interesting, but we can consider and talk about all that stuff once we start getting into it. So if you're not familiar with the show, let me tell you how the world works here. The way that we do our thing is we talk about safety in the news and safety. Not a problem. We have some professional broadcasters that come in and lay out the lay of the land of what is going on. So that's kind of a cool bean side of the house. So you got that. And then if you want to interact with the show, simple format, call in radio. Callinradio.com. That will get you moving and grooving in regards and getting into our system. And that will make everything do the buzzer thing. So you can get that moving and grooving your general direction. Like I tell people, we don't really do a lot of the social media aspect. So if you look us up in social media, yeah, we're there, but I don't really pay attention to that throughout the show. So just FYI action. And then the other side of the equation, as we are talking, you can take a look around and interact with that call-in radio portion. If you want to look at the visual radio side, you can do that by going to safetyfm.com or radiobig.fm. Yes, radiobig.fm. That will get everything moving and grooving for you. So that's kind of a simplistic way of doing all of that. Kind of a simple process. So that's it. That's kind of sums up our thing that we do around here. And of course, we have your interaction, which is the most important part of what is going on. Because even though sometimes we don't play or talk about exactly what people are saying in the background, you do have a heavy influence on what we are going to do next. Just kind of the way that it goes. Anyways, with that being said, let's start talking immediately about what the hell is going on inside of the world of the news today, because I think some people are going to want to know. I especially would believe that around the 10 o'clock hour, but we'll talk about that here in a bit.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
NBC News Radio, I'm Mark Mayfield. Connecticut is claiming its fifth NCAA men's basketball national championship. The fourth-seeded Huskies defeated fifth-seeded San Diego State 76-59 in the title game in Houston. Adama Sanogo led the charge with 17 points and 10 rebounds in the victory. The junior forward was named most outstanding player for the tournament. UConn fended off a late rally from the Aztecs as the team won all its tournament games by double digits. The judge overseeing former President Trump's expected Tuesday arraignment is not allowing video cameras in the New York courtroom. Trey Thomas reports.
Judge Juan Merchant announced the decision Monday night while acknowledging the unparalleled public interest in the case. A handful of pool still photographers will be allowed to snap photos for several minutes before the arraignment begins. Trump is said to face charges related to an alleged hush money deal to an adult film actress to conceal an affair. I'm Trey Thomas.
The Nashville school shooter who killed 3 children and 3 adults spent months planning the attack. Lisa Taylor fills us in.
That's according to a statement from the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department. The shooting happened at the Covenant School last week. The shooter was killed by officers responding to calls for help. All 3 kids that were killed were 9 years old. I'm Lisa Taylor.
The CDC says it's concerned that bacteria linked to tainted eye drops imported from India could gain a foothold in American healthcare facilities. It says the bacteria is highly drug-resistant and spread person to person in a long-term care center in Connecticut. The FDA issued a recall earlier this year of EzraCare artificial tears after 3 people died, 8 were blinded, and dozens developed serious infections. Imports of EzraCare eye drops have been halted. And more severe storms and tornadoes are forecast to hit parts of the U.S. this week. Officials say the areas at the highest risk of the threatening weather include the Midwest and the South, particularly Iowa, Missouri, Wisconsin, and Arkansas. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. Former US President Donald Trump is expected to plead not guilty when he appears in court in New York later. He faces charges over hush money paid to an adult star in 2016, but denies wrongdoing. Billionaire Richard Branson's Virgin Orbit satellite company has filed for bankruptcy in the US. It says it still hopes to find a buyer for the business, but announced last week it was cutting 85% of its workforce. Virgin Orbit's attempted first-ever satellite launch from UK soil failed earlier this year. Financial analyst Danny Hewson from AJ Bell says the bankruptcy news follows a difficult period for the firm.
It's been in trouble for weeks, really. It's been looking to find additional cash to help it recover after a rocket failure in January. So the business has been really trying to find extra cash to go in. We know that it's got a huge amount of debt. As of September the 30th, over $153 million worth of debt.
Taiwan is defending President Tsai Ing-wen's plan to meet U.S. lawmakers despite warnings of retaliation from China. Tsai will meet House Speaker Kevin McCarthy on Wednesday in California. Richard Kimber reports from Hong Kong.
A spokeswoman for Taiwan's presidential office says it's the right of the Taiwanese public to maintain exchanges with democratic countries and that there is no room for China to comment. Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen is due to meet U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and a bipartisan group of U.S. lawmakers in Los Angeles on Wednesday as she passes back through the U.S. at the end of a diplomatic trip to lobby support from Central American allies Guatemala and Belize. China is condemning the meeting and has warned that it will take resolute measures in response. China claims the self-governed island of Taiwan as its own territory and has repeatedly ordered the US to cease all official communications with Taiwan, calling that a breach of China's sovereignty. Richard Kimber in Hong Kong.
Japan is dropping all COVID-related border controls from next month. It's part of government moves to recategorize COVID-19 as a common disease. Chris Gilbert reports.
Japan lagged the rest of the world when it reopened its borders to foreign travelers in October. Now, half a year later, it's doing away with the final scraps of its COVID-19 restrictions and fully normalizing border control. Passengers are currently required to provide proof they've been vaccinated against COVID-19 3 times or provide a negative pre-departure PCR test result. On May 8th, the same day that Japan recategorizes COVID-19 as a common disease, such as the flu, these will all be gone. Japan's border controls have been in place since February 2020 and were among the most stringent of G7 countries.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You are listening to something magical. You're listening to the Rated R Safety Show.
The White House is calling Florida's newly signed concealed carry gun law shameful. More from Brian Shook.
In a statement Monday, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said the measure is the opposite of common sense gun safety. The legislation allows residents to carry a concealed loaded weapon without a permit. Governor Ron DeSantis says the law will let law-abiding gun owners avoid red tape. The law goes into effect on July 1st. I'm Brian Shook.
3 Democratic state lawmakers in the Tennessee House of Representatives are being stripped of their committee assignments and face expulsion after taking part in gun protests at the Capitol. The GOP-controlled House voted to remove Representatives Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, and Gloria Johnson from their committees on Monday. The 3 had joined a fiery protest calling for reforms after a shooter killed 6 people, including 3 children, at a school in Nashville late last month. Tennessee House Speaker Cameron Sexton called their actions unacceptable and a violation of the rules of decorum. Resolutions have been put forward to remove the 3 from the legislature altogether. The CDC is warning stop eating raw cookie dough. Michael Kastner explains.
11 states are dealing with a salmonella outbreak. At least 12 people have gotten sick so far, although health officials believe the number is much higher. The cases are all from December to mid-February. At least 6 patients said they ate raw dough or batter just days before their symptoms began, and all the products use the same flour. I'm Michael Kastner.
And a Labor Department filing shows Amazon's spending on labor consultants rose over $14 million last year, trying to quash unionizing efforts. The e-commerce giant tripled its spending from last year when it first started going against union drives at warehouses. In the filing, Amazon says they hired the consultants to help in expressing the company's opinion on union representation and to educate employees about the issues. That amount of spending soars above anti-union spending at other large companies. Starbucks follows in 2021 at over $4 million. Mark Mayfield, NBC News Radio.
Safety never sounded so terrible. Rated R Safety Show.
Let's start using cutting-edge warp speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium data. What is premium data? is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, well, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobilemobile.io. That's mobilemobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
Hello.
Hey, Dad. Your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad. Your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey. Why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you. You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home. Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill? Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Well, you might be like me and heard all these terms and were not 100% sure on what they meant. Things as mining, blockchain, the Internet of Things. Well, I will tell you, we here at Safety FM have partnered up with a company that will explain this to you and will also have conversations to inform you on how you might have the potential of making passive income by being involved with this. All you need to do is go to safetyfm.com/iHub. They'll discuss blockchain. What exactly is mining? What is cryptocurrency? And what is the Internet of Things? To find out more information, go to safetyfm.com/iHub. That's safetyfm.com/iHub. And don't forget to mention that Jay Allen sent you.
Safety in a way never heard of before. The Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Okay, there you go. 18 minutes past the top of the hour. You are still hanging out here on hour number 1 of the Jay Allen in the Morning show that we call the Rated R Safety Show. Yeah, that's what we call it. Because we go 3 hours. We go 3 hours. 3, not 6. So a lot of stuff going on right there as you are hanging. Just in case, thanks for the notice of the change in the glasses for the people hanging on the video side of the world. Yeah, I noticed too. They're not black, but don't worry, they will be tomorrow. So there you go. A lot of stuff going on inside here. Yep, going on inside here. So let's start talking right away about what is going on in the world of the stuff that we were talking about. NASA has announced that the new crew for the Artemis 2 mission, the project that will send the astronauts around, but not set foot on the moon, will occur in November of 2024. Commander G. Reed Wiseman will command the flight, with Victor Glover as the pilot seat, and Christian Koch and Canadian Jeremy Hansen will join as mission specialists. The mission will be the first time that humans leave low Earth orbit since the Apollo 17 back in 1972. So there you go. Getting excited? Well, there you go. Anyways, The Northern Maine Ice Buster have claimed the obscure world record. They cut the biggest ice disc that's ever been recorded. The 1,776-foot circle weight in the estimated 146,000 tons. Yeah, you heard me correctly there. This is according to Associated Press reports. The group bought the survey crews to create the new perfect circle and then cut through it with an inch 30 thickness. So there you go. The hodgepodge was motorized vehicle where they were able to bring into a tug disc and then get the spin and then eventually did it. Who knew that there was a world ice record for carousel associations? But there is now. So there you go. I don't know if that's really a big news story. I mean, you have a big piece of water because it's frozen, so it's ice. But I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's just a weird one.
More sarcasm than Mortal Kombat Beatdown. Rated R Safety Show.
So did you hear about this? A 2-year-old boy out of Missouri is safe after missing on Friday thanks to the efforts of 100 volunteers and multiple law enforcement outfits joining the search. The toddler apparently took off into the woods near his home after he spotted a dog. Law enforcement says that his parents even had the child's door locked. Locks were engaged, and no one is sure on how the little boy was able to get out in the first place. The community came together to scour the woods to see if any trace of the boy, and he was virtually found before sundown. This is according to KY3. Yeah, I would imagine that's a local affiliate station. So there you go, KY3. What do you call it? KY3. So there you go. There you go. What else do we got? What else do we have? I'm sure we have more. A new study coming out of Victoria, the one in Canada, just in case, said that the glass of red wine at dinner probably isn't good for you in doing you any favors after all. The researchers looked at the results of 107 studies that investigated this question, and it turns out that no statistical difference in mortality between tiddling drinkers and moderate drinkers. So on the second hand, the tasty red wine ain't hurting either way. So I don't know. This is according to NBC News. So does this make you want to drink more or make you want to drink less? More is less is more, or that whole array of things. So there you go. Anyway, so this is news. It's kind of surprising. Apple, a company with one of the world's biggest market capitalization, is reportedly beginning layoffs, though it sounds like it won't be too many heads that they'll be on the chopping block. Bloomberg says the number of pink slips will be very small. Internal discussion sees the cuts as efficiency increases, not desperate cost-cutting measures. Those getting cut are limited to managing retail stores. They even have the opportunity to apply for other positions in the company, and those who do depart will get 4 months severance. This is according to Bloomberg, of course. So what do you think about that? Apple letting some people go for efficiency purposes. Just some things to think about as we are talking. Anyways, take a listen to this. Charts. We need to talk about charts. The top 5 songs in Apple Music, top 5 songs in Spotify. So give me the top 5 from Apple Music. Starts off like this. Zav with Snooze. At number 4 is Morgan Wallen with Think About Me. At number 3 is Tootsil with Favorite Song. At number 2, Rod Wave with Fight the Feeling. And at number 1, Morgan Wallen with Last Night. If I go with the other side of the equation, which it would be on Spotify, Coi Leray with Players at number 5. At number 4 is Pink Panthers and Ice Spice with Boys Are Liars Part 2. At number 3 is Rosalia and Alejandro with Besos. At number 2 is Miley Cyrus with Flowers. And at the number 1 spot is Za with Kill Bill. So there you go. Some things to think about as we are talking. Let's do this real quick. Let's get some John Smalls inside of here. Let him tell you about what the hell is going on inside of the world of the market.
Here's your Market Beat Minute for Tuesday, April 4th, brought to you by GenesisGoldIRA.com. Equity markets moved modestly higher Monday after OPEC announced a surprise production cut. Starting in May, the cut is worth more than 1 million barrels per day and will tilt the supply-demand balance firmly in favor of higher prices. The news sent the price of WTI up by more than 6%, which was sustained through the end of the session. Analysts are already discussing $100 a barrel oil, which could be a cautious estimate giving the coming travel season. The real takeaway from the oil news is inflation. Another spike in oil prices will be felt at all levels of the economy and spark another round of negative feedback loops. In this scenario, inflation will not only accelerate but could also reach new highs. This will leave the FOMC no choice but to continue hiking interest rates and adding pressure to an economy already showing signs of distress. You can get the inside track from Wall Street's brightest minds delivered directly to your inbox every day at marketbeatminute.com.
Okay, thank you, John, for that information right there as we are talking for sure. Let me tell you a little bit about what I was able to locate. The Dow added about 327 points to close at 33,601 on Monday. The S&P added about 15 points to close at 4,125, and the NASDAQ lost about 32 points to close at 12,189. West Texas Intermediate closed at $80 a barrel, and Brent crude was at $85. The national average price of a gallon of gas was $3.51 on Monday. Bitcoin lost about 1%, trading just shy of 27,800. There was more than 3,840 flights delayed within, into, and out of the United States on Monday, and there was about 225 cancellations. Tonight's Mega Million drawing will be for $385 million jackpot or a $203.8 million cash payout. So if you are into playing the game, you have the chance to do so. As you did hear before, let's talk about it again. Let's get a little swampy for a moment. The former President Donald Trump will be arrested, and the formal charges against him will be read in court. Trump flew his jet Trump flew his jet to New York on Monday. Well, I'm pretty sure it wasn't him; it was his pilot. Evening apparently to spend the night at the Trump Towers, taking bets. Will he smile or be somber in the mugshot? So we'll have to take a look, because that's going to be a thing. It's going to be. I would imagine there's going to be all kinds of pandemonium today in regards of all that. That's just what I'm expecting. Hopefully I'm wrong, but you know how these things go. There's going to be all kinds of stuff going all over the place. Talking about election and election day, voting totals are lagging compared to the city's most recent municipal election. This is coming out of Denver, Colorado, back in 2021. The MSU Denver political science professor Robert Preuss says that 16 candidates is likely overwhelming for voters.
There's a term called choice paralysis. Too many choices, and we just shut down. And I think that's what's really happening right now. They're looking around. There's a lot to ask of the Denver electorate to figure out which of those candidates best meets their preferences.
So through Saturday, more than 70,000 ballots had been collected, but that was roughly 10,000 fewer than were submitted over the span of 4 years ago. According to the Data City, that 2023 total vote through April the 1st represents 16% of the ballots mailed to voters. Meanwhile, there was 380,000 ballots still outstanding, and of those returned, 49% of the voters age 65 and older. Nearly 105,000 votes were cast in the final 2 days of the election in 2019, which was record-setting for that particular year. So we'll take a look at what the hell is going on right there. I don't think I really want to get into the. Do I want to get into the race in Wisconsin? I guess we can go back to that. Let's talk about Chicago real quick. 2 Democrats face off today in Chicago, the mayoral runoff election. Paul Vajas, former CEO of the Chicago school system, is running against Cook County Commissioner Brandon Johnson, a former teacher with the backing of the local teachers union. Johnson spoke yesterday while gathering last-minute voters.
You can feel the energy all over the city. I'm grateful for it. I'm encouraging everyone to get out and vote this race.
Vajas has campaigned on fighting crime, while Johnson has made education the focus of the campaign. The candidates are essentially neck and neck as they on the V to replace Mayor Lori Lightfoot. The fight of the incumbent mayor to lose re-election in 40 years. Vajas discusses his campaign.
I believe that my candidacy will be successful because I've been speaking to unifying issues.
Okay, so there you go. I don't really ever see anybody out there thinking, yeah, I think I'm going to lose. This is not kind of what happens. Anyways, the most expensive state Supreme Court race in U.S. history will be decided today in Wisconsin. Mark Mayfield has more.
At stake is a spot on the state's Supreme Court and possibly the future of abortion and voting rights. The court is currently evenly divided between conservative and liberal justices. Tuesday's runoff sees liberal judge Janet Protasewicz and conservative justice Daniel Kelly looking for a seat that could tip the scales. More than $40 million has been funneled into the race, 3 times the previous national record. I'm Mark Mayfield.
So there you go, $40 million at play. What the hell is going on inside of this world?
You are listening to a radio god. What? This has to be an error. That host is not a radio god. Anyways, this is the Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Okay, so let's start talking a little bit more for a memento here. Tesla is being ordered to pay African-American former employees roughly $3.2 million in damages as a result of a discrimination that he suffered working at the electric car maker back in 2015. Trey Thomas has more information.
The order came from a San Francisco jury on Monday. Owen Diaz was initially awarded $137 million in 2021, leading Tesla to seek a retrial, resulting in the new reduced figure. I'm Trey Thomas.
That's a huge reduced figure in regards to the original to that, so we'll see what ends up happening there. That's going to be an interesting one as we are talking. Today marks 1 year since Patrick Loya was killed by former officer Christopher Schur, leading to Schur's arrest for murder, protest, and reform within the Grand Rapids Police Department. Take a listen.
I mean, I'm not going to say anything positive came from it. It was a tragic incident. It did open up a lot of doors. A lot of people came forward wanting to talk to me, demanding to be heard that I might not have heard from otherwise.
The Grand Rapids Police Department Police Chief Eric Winstrom took over the job less than, a month before Roya was shot and killed last April. He says the death changed everything, leading to major reform with the department. Winstrom released a video of the former officer Schur shooting it back of the head of the 9 days after the incident. Protesters grew by the hundreds, lasting 4 days and several hours at a time. Winstrom says that he is proud on the way that the city called for action of the GRPD, set forth the provisions of preserving human life, placed on the officers on the highest priority a month after Schur was charged with the second-degree murder last June. New training emphasized de-escalating situations, requiring officers to issue a verbal warning before using deadly force. Grand Rapids Police Department Chief Eric Winstrom is thankful for Patrick Loya parents for making the difference.
They're some of the loudest voices after the video was released, just demanding, no violence in the name of our son. They wanted peace in the city. So thank you for that, and just otherwise, just a lot of love and respect for them.
Winstrom is grateful on how Grand Rapids and protesters were peaceful after Loya's death, sparking more change.
We had 0 broken windows. We had 0 property damage. We had 0 uses of force by police officers. We had 0 arrests. And that was the police department acknowledging that this is a difficult thing for a lot of people.
So hopefully things continue in that particular matter to improve after learning. I mean, the casualty of life being able to learn, that's not the greatest way of actually going about, but seeing that there's a level of change that's going on is always important as things do move on. Yep, running a little bit behind today, 33 minutes past the top of the hour. It is time to do that thing that we do around this time.
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
Sometimes we sit around in life and we get ready for the next chapter. We get ready for what we think that we're looking at is what is going to be at the end of the corner. What we're going to take a look at is when we come around the block, what's going to happen at the end of the mile marker, the kilometer marker, whatever marker you want to put on there. And sometimes, maybe that's just not the best way of taking a look at some things. Sometimes when we look around, maybe it's about addressing and looking at life overall in regards of how well the thing is, how good it is to be down the path and as you are going down the path. Sometimes I take a look and talk to people and listen to them speak, and there's this term that is used in wrestling, that there's used in mixed martial arts. It's known as enhancement talent. Meaning that the person is going to come in with the expectation that that person is there to lose. Yep, that's exactly it. It's enhancement talent. It's a journeyman, whatever you want to call it. The gatekeepers, however you want to take a look at it. And I'm always amazed in listening to people talk and about how that's how they feel at their workplace. that they're the journey person. They are the gatekeeper. They are the enhancement talent. In some circles, they're even known as what somebody might call a jobber, meaning that, yes, they are there to do a job and specifically lose. And I have a hard time hearing that because there might be times that it seems like that's what it is. There might be times that that's not the greatest grand portion of the equation. But there's times out there that you have to acknowledge that that's not why you're there. You're not there to be a jobber. You're not there to be enhancement talent. Do things always go your way? Probably not. Do things always go my way? Nope. So I don't ever expect for me to talk about something that I haven't been through in regards of, especially when it comes to a work environment, to that extent. There has been times that I have sat around and tried to help organizations that I was employed, quote unquote, by, that my ideas were terrible because they were coming out of my mouth. But when somebody would sit there and think about it, all of a sudden it was the greatest thing. Allegedly, it was their idea, even though I had just pretty much told them the idea, but that's okay. And frustration would build on, and frustration would be there, and I would go, what the hell am I doing here? And I noticed and I recognized immediately that it wasn't about getting up and leaving. It was about the journey that I was going through, because I've always looked at portions of my life, at least until that time, about where I was trying to get to. And don't get me wrong, it's not about not having some kind of goal in the long run, because that's not what I'm saying. But sometimes we have such a focus on where we're trying to get that we forget about the journey that we're on. Yes, the journey that we're on. Think about it. Think about times that you've went and done something and you were trying to rush so much through it that you forgot to enjoy it. You forgot to take a look while you were doing it and go, bam, that was really good. Or that was really bad. Or boy, did I learn this from that. And you take a look back maybe months later, days later, hours later after everything occurred, and you realize then on how good everything was. But it wasn't until post-event, not during the event. Now, funny how that works sometimes. How sometimes something that we might have been miserable during, we didn't enjoy until thinking about it later. And was it because we were more questioning how the journey was going to be, or were we questioning more about getting to the destination? And a lot of times we do that in anything in our life, especially when it comes to our career. Think about where you were 10 years ago. And if you haven't been in the workforce that long, what about 5 years ago? What about 2 years ago compared to where you are today? Listen, it's not about the end game. It's about enjoying the path there. I will tell you, I have been able to do things in my career that I never expected to do and have been grateful along that journey once I kind of learned this. And it was, wow, I don't think how we could ever supersede X to be able to supersede X. And it was enjoying it during and enjoying it while. So maybe that's the things that we need to think about. Maybe those are the things that we need to, quote unquote, consider going forward. Think about that. I know it's kind of, some people might go, well, that's kind of lackadaisical. Not really. Put the whole thing in context and think about what I'm saying. You might look at things slightly differently if you give it a chance. Like really, give it a chance.
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with the viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You are listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. PIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. PIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with PIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly, less than $2 a month, and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take PIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Have you ever wanted to start live streaming and were not sure how to do it? You can start live streaming up to 40 social media platforms all at one time for as little as nada. It's going to cost you your time. That is what it's going to cost. You can pre-record, you can live stream, you can do a multitude of things. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to safetyfm.com/one. That's safetyfm.com, ONE.
Is your safety screen old, stale, and hacky? Safety trainers still training a warped version. How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Polzel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
You're being infiltrated. Radio Big.
Listen at your own risk. Rated R Safety Show.
Don't you stop, you're trying now. Hey, for crying out loud. I never thought I'd ask, but now all I can do is shout. Hey, what about us? Just another complication. Don't you ever stop to think about us. You're in my mind forever, but I think we've had it just enough. Been calling often. You listen never. Oh, suck it down, yeah. Light as a feather. You'll find me swimming in the dark. Oh, where's my mind? I threw it in the bag. Just leave it gifts from time to time. Hey, for crying out loud. Pull yourself together. Don't you stop, you're trying now. Hey, for crying out.
Oh, here we go. Still hanging out here on the Rated R Safety Show, hour number one of the Jay Allen in the Morning Show. We're still hanging out on Safety FM and Radio Big.
Don't you ever
Yeah, this little song right here is What About Us by Josho.
You're in my mind forever, but I think
You can give it a little download-y, little stream action on YouTube Music, Spotify, and Apple Music. Well, let's thank Josho for that one. So let's get into the move and the groove of things as we're talking about What About Us? Yeah. So let's get into it. Let's talk real quick about the most important thing that I will ever tell you in my lifetime, and that's about my friends at 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. They can help you prevent suicide. The Lifeline provides 24/7 free and confidential support for people in distress, prevention, and crisis resources for you and your loved ones, and best practices for professionals in the United States. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to 988lifeline.org. That's 988lifeline.org to find out more information, or you can text the word TALK to 988 or call 988. Yep. Listen, we all go through struggles sometimes, and I think that we are at the point that this is something that we need to discuss all the time. Share the information. And listen, I know some people don't like talking about this, and it's okay, because if for some reason there's this weird stigma when it comes to mental health with some people. And I think that if we start talking about this more and more and normalize it, opposed to trying to hide it, we will get further quicker. We will get to places where we want to be. And there does not need to be a level of fear of talking about it, because I remember years and years ago where it was just like, rough it out. You'll be okay. Stop talking about it. Man up. Whatever the hell that shit means. I look at it from the standpoint that it needs to be discussed. It needs to be talked about. And sometimes we just don't feel comfortable talking to people that we know. And this is a great place to go. If you don't have someone you can turn to, or if you need information to be able to share with others on how to do this. 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You can just go to 988lifeline.org for more information. So there you go. A lot of stuff going on. So listen, today's going to be an interesting one. I continue to think about this. So I think we should probably talk about it right away. And we should probably spend a good minute considering and going over about what the hell is going to happen swamp-wise today. Yeah, I know it's not my favorite subject either, but I think it's something that we need to consider. So here's a minute of politics.
President Biden is highlighting his efforts to boost jobs and clean energy manufacturing.
The plan is to invest in America in a literal sense, not overseas, in America. Invest in ourselves, and it's working.
While speaking from the Cummins manufacturing plant in Fridley, Minnesota, Biden laid out how the engine manufacturer is going to start building electrolyzers in the U.S. for the first time thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act. The technology is used to produce clean hydrogen power. Biden said his economic plan has led to more than $435 billion in major private sector investments over the past 2 years. He warned so-called MAGA Republicans plan to undo his administration's progress. And the judge overseeing former President Trump's arraignment is not allowing video cameras in the New York courtroom. Judge Juan Merchan announced the decision on Monday night while acknowledging the unparalleled public interest in the case. A handful of pool still photographers will be allowed to snap photos for several minutes before the arraignment begins. That's politics. Mark Mayfield, NBC News Radio.
Okay, thank you, Mark Mayfield, for the information right there. So there you go. There was a minute of politics. Are you okay? Because I'm still trying to figure out if I'm okay as well. So there you go. Some stuff going on right there as things go on. I will tell you, I have more news related to what the heck is going on with baseball than I can shake a stick at, and I don't know if people really care, but that's something that I for me to deal with, not for you to deal with. But hey, there you go. And now all of a sudden I have accidentally cleared all my news, so we'll skip over all the baseball that we were talking about. So there you go. So what do you think? What are you looking forward to the most today? Anything going on? Anything worth looking at? Anything worth talking about? Let's talk about some other stuff real quick. Let's talk about this coming out of New York. 2 workers are dead after getting trapped in a trench at the New York's JFK airport. Take a listen to this.
Emergency workers on the scene trying to rescue the workers, but they were both pronounced dead after being pulled out. It happened Monday morning near Terminal 5 and 7. An investigation is being conducted. In addition, a stop work order for all construction at the airport was issued. I'm Trey Thomas.
It'll be interesting to see exactly some more information on what happened there. People are going to be talking about that for the next sum of time. There is no doubt about that. Take a listen to this. The White House is calling Florida's newly signed concealed gun carry law shameful. Brian Shook has more.
In a statement Monday, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said the measure is the opposite of common sense gun safety. The legislation allows residents to carry a concealed loaded weapon without a permit. Governor Ron DeSantis says the law will let law-abiding gun owners avoid red tape. The law goes into effect on July 1st. I'm Brian Shook.
Okay, take a listen to this one that's coming out of, this one's coming out of New York. For the first time in years, the stinky corpse flower is poised to bloom at New York's Botanical Garden. Trey Thomas has more.
Visually, it's an elegant-looking, huge pink flower, but it smells like rotting meat. The last time the corpse flower bloomed, it attracted 25,000 visitors and 2 million people who watched its progress on a live feed without the odor. You can tune in now to watch the corpse flower bloom, which the Botanical Garden says could happen any day now. I'm Trey Thomas.
Yes, let's just go with the odorless option. I think that might be better in the long run. Take a listen to this. A bill that would protect Colorado doctors who practice reproductive and gender-affirming health care is moving closer to the governor's desk. Senate Bill 188 was approved by the House on Saturday.
What it's saying is please be really transparent and upfront about what you do offer. The Attorney General can step in and say, if you don't offer that, then this particular ad right here is indicating that it looks like you do.
The state representative, Karen McCormick, who is the sponsor of the bill, would also shield those seeking care from lawsuits and other actions generated in the states that oppose abortion and gender-affirming treatment. The House also approved 2 other related bills over the weekend, including one that expands insurance coverages for abortions and other reproductive health care. The amendment attached to the bills will also have to be approved by the Senate before they are sent to the governor for signature. So there you go. Anyways, with that being said, 53 minutes past the top of the hour, let's bring some John Small back in here for him to tell us about what the hell is going on with the Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute is courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. Today's quote was submitted by Tom. Andy Rooney said, "The average dog is a nicer person than the average person." I love that. Dogs really are pretty amazing. Now, cats are too, and maybe we can devote another day to them sometime soon, but today is gone to the dogs. Think about how happy a dog will be that you just came home. You walk into the house and they wag their tail and they hop around with excitement. Imagine what life would be like if your husband did that, or your wife did that when you came home, spent time with them, or your kids. Imagine how great it would be to have a teenage child be excited to see you. Make your dog happy by just showing up and spending a few minutes with them. It's almost magical. This has been today's Motivation Minute, courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. They're known for insurance quotes. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Your Wellness Minute is brought to you by AlysaMorgan.com. Every once in a while, we find ourselves in a bit of a motivation rut. Just do it is the usual slogan or mantra, but alas, many people simply don't. It's not that easy. By understanding a bit about how dopamine works and the relationship between baseline levels of dopamine and dopamine peaks, as well as the fact that uncomfortable experiences actually rebound us to higher levels of baseline dopamine afterwards, anyone can make substantial strides in their levels of motivation and ability to overcome procrastination. The key to overcoming it is to do something more unpleasant than the thing you are procrastinating about. What you choose is subjective to you, but the reason is it rebounds you to a heightened state of motivation due to dopamine dynamics, which is why it works. For more information on wellness, check out AlysaMorgan.com.
We are now video streaming the Rated R Safety Show. I don't know why our host has a face for radio. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so there you go. Face for Radio hanging out right here. 56 minutes past the top of the hour. At the top of the hour, I will be going over to radiobig.fm. If you want to come out and hang out, there is no other thing that you need to do. Let's talk about some things that happened back on this date. Back in 1975, Bill Gates and Paul Allen were friends at Harvard, joined forces to develop a cell basic interpreted for Altair 8800. Allen came up with the name Microsoft, a combination of microcomputer and software. So there you go. That happened back in 1975. If you're looking at some birthdays for today, I have some of those for you. Let's see. Elliot Brown turns 21. Aston Mahone turns 27. Jesse Joe Stark turns 32. Jamie Lynn Spears, 32. Todrick Hall, 38. Eric Andre, 40. Natasha Leon turns 44. James Rode turns 47. David Blaine turns 50 today. Jill Scott, 51. Robert Downey Jr. turns 58. David Cross turns 59. And Graham Norton turns 60 today. If you're looking at some days of the years to celebrate, well, I have some of those for you as well. It's International Carrot Day, World Rat Day, National Walk Around Things Day, National Vitamin C Day, Dare Day. Yes, that's D.A.R.E. Day. And National Chicken Cordon Bleu Day. You can enjoy that one on your own. I do not want to partake of that with you. But thank you. Thank you. So there you go. This is going to end our time together in regards of us hanging out on this lovely Tuesday. There is no doubt about that. So listen, if you want to come and hang out with me, I will be going over at the top of the hour to 2222 radiobig.fm. So if you haven't been hanging out there, you can come and hang out and do the things that we do over there. There is no problem with you coming over there. If not, you can stay right here and hang out with the Safety Consultant Show, where Sheldon Primus will be taking over here in the next few moments and talking about the business of safety consulting. And then we go from there. And hopefully, if everything goes as planned, I will be back tomorrow and everything will be fine and copacetic. I really do appreciate you hanging out with me. Now, listen, if I can leave you with a thought for today, I want you to think about this. Think about the moment. Don't think about the future. Think about the moment. Don't think about the future. If you think about the moment that you're living in, things will be so much better than worrying about what is going to happen later down the line. It's so important to think about these things. I really do mean that as I do say that. Anyways, take care. I know who you are.
Duh.
You know who I am. Love ya, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.